Brianna Ruffalo and find out about the rest of our day.
Yeah, a lot of inland spots are getting to the sunshine, the heat pretty quickly, although there are some beaches that are still dealing with some cloudy, cool conditions. And then if you're inland, it is getting warm out there already. It's going to be pretty similar to yesterday. Some inland spots are getting hotter compared to yesterday. So we just have a couple more days of this, and we'll really start to cool off once we head into the weekend and the beginning of next week. Malibu right now, you can see that cloud cover, temperature at about 64 degrees. But as you take out into Riverside, we're looking at some hazy views and temperatures warming up to some upper 70s. So we're starting to see some upper 70s to low 80s out there. Although Lancaster getting hot quickly at about 101 degrees already, 96 out into Palmdale. At 78 in Van Nuys, we're seeing some low 80s there for Ontario at about 81 degrees. So we have more hot weather today, but we do have some cooler weather in the forecast too. We'll let you know when that's going to happen and how much cooler it's going to get. That's all coming up in just a little bit. And Philip, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, Brianna, thank you.
Want to know what the weather's going to be like?
Yeah,
Brianna?
Yeah, it's going to be hot out there. I mean, luckily we're cooling off by this weekend. So if you're headed out there tomorrow, it's still going to be pretty hot, but next week things are looking much nicer. The good thing about Disneyland, though, is you can always go on the rides that the Splash Mountain. There you go. That's a great one for this week because it's going to be hot out there. Nice way to cool off, and just make sure that you're dressed in some cool, loose clothing because we are seeing some very warm and hot temperatures inland, except for the coast. This is where we're not seeing some very warm temperatures. This marine layer, June gloom, is keeping us pretty cool closer to the beaches. So quite the temperature difference near the coast compared to inland, the valleys, especially the desert communities this week. LAX right now, you're looking at about 66 degrees. Inland, though, you're getting some hazy skies and some warming temperatures, about 74 degrees there for Burbank. But we do have some of these excessive heat warnings still in effect from the high desert all the way down to the low desert through tomorrow evening. We're talking temperatures in Palm Springs close to about 110 degrees. Triple digit heat also up into Palmdale, Lancaster, Victorville. You're all in there too. So we're seeing some very warm temperatures and hot in some of those spots. 101 already in Lancaster, 81 degrees out into Santa Clarita right now. Also in those low 80s, Ontario, Wrightwood, 80 degrees, warm in our mountain communities as well. And you can see as we get closer to the coast, those temperatures just keep cooling and cooling. And we're down to some 60s there near the beaches. So a nice place to cool off. This ridge of high pressure is going to be moving out. So we are going to see some nice cooling as we head into the weekend and especially as we head into next week. In fact, next week, our temperatures are going to be below average. So that's going to be a nice little break, especially compared to what we've been dealing with if you're inland this week. Los Angeles and Orange County, mid 70s today, tomorrow, pretty much through the weekend. And then we see some low 70s as we head into next week. But we can expect that June gloom through the weekend and through next week as well. For the valleys, the Inland Empire, 94 today. Now, some valley spots in the 80s. So temperature differences, depending where you're at, 80s to 90s. 90 degrees by tomorrow. We do start to cool off a bit. Much more by Sunday, down to the low 80s. And then we just kind of stay in the low 80s as we head into next week with a nice little sea breeze. For the beaches, mid 60s today. We get a little closer to 70 over the weekend, but we can expect that cloud cover. Some of those beach communities struggling to clear at least until later in the afternoon. But really mild temperatures over the next 7 days there for the coastline, thanks to June gloom. For the mountains, warm up there, low 80s today, tomorrow. Still dealing with elevated fire danger through the end of the week because of the heat. It's dry up there. Our vegetation is so dry. We do see some more mild temperatures, though, as we head into next week. High desert, it's hot. We have gusts up to about 35 to 40 miles per hour today. 98 by tomorrow. Finally, next week, we do see some 80s out there. So at least we'll get a little bit of relief for the deserts, too. Philip, Giovanna, send it back to you guys.
Okay, Brianna, thank you. Afternoon.
Yeah, and hot in some spots too, especially inland in some of our desert communities, and then much cooler toward the beaches, although we are starting to see a little bit of sunshine. But June gloom sticking around along the coastline. Long Beach right now, we're getting closer to 70 degrees, so very mild along the coast. And then inland, especially for our deserts, we have excessive heat warnings. And in fact, from the high desert down to the low desert, where we are seeing temperatures well into the triple digits down toward Palm Springs, and then up toward the high desert where we're just above 100 degrees there in some spots. You can see here Lancaster already at 102 degrees, 96 out into Palmdale. It's so hot out there. 81 for Santa Clarita, so warm temperatures there. Same for Ontario, also in those low 80s. Wrightwood, 81, so warm in our mountain communities as well. And we're starting to see those low 80s pop up in some of the foothills and the valleys. Temperatures today inland are still going to be a little bit warmer compared to yesterday in some areas, and other spots pretty similar to yesterday. Now we're going to start having that high pressure move move on out, and then we're going to cool off as we head into the weekend and into next week. So we really just have to deal with the heat today and tomorrow, although tomorrow we are cooling off just a bit. It's still going to be very warm out there. And then as we head into the weekend, especially on Sunday, if you are inland, you will start to really notice some of that cooling. Los Angeles, Orange County, mild temperatures through the afternoon. If you are in LA or inland OC, temperatures are pretty nice the next 7 days. We're just in the 70s, mild afternoons, cloudy starts, and things are just looking really nice there for the next week. For the valleys, the Inland Empire, different story. Today and tomorrow, we're in the low 90s, upper 80s by Saturday, and then as we head into the beginning of next week, we'll have some low 80s, and even some spots probably just reaching into the 70s there. So it'll be much nicer and more comfortable outside as we head into next week. For the beach communities, everything's staying pretty mild there the next 7 days. Luckily, that June gloom, we're keeping temperatures fairly mild and cool as you head toward the coastline. Nice place to escape the heat today, tomorrow, Saturday, still going to be pretty warm out there. And then on Sunday, a lot of us are going to be seeing some much more comfortable temperatures. For the mountains, warm up there still. Today, tomorrow, we're still dealing with some elevated fire danger. Breezy conditions, warm, and it's dry. Low 80s today, tomorrow. We get down to 78 on Saturday. And then as we head into next week, we start to see some low 70s. Now, some spots out there, especially for the valleys, the Inland Empire, we're going to be below average for this time of year. So it'll be nice to get a little break from the heat. High desert, it's hot again, 102 degrees, gusts up to 40 miles per hour, windy, dry, hot, upper 90s by tomorrow. We start to see some more cooling as we head into Sunday, but definitely by Monday, we'll start to see some more 80s out there. So the Antelope Valley will finally start to get a little bit of relief. And Giovanna, I'll send it over to you.
Okay, Brianna, thank you. With the